Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey, and the evil that man does lives after them. The good is oft interred in the bones. And that is one of my favorite quotes from Shakespeare. Just in the essence of today's conversation, we're going to be talking about acting and using acting techniques and tools and applying them to real life beyond the stage along with a lot of other stuff. We're going to cover some great information today, the idea of emotional and mental literacy. And we are here with James Rojas Taylor to talk about that. He's also a U.S. Marine veteran. So we're going to start there. But Mr. Rojas Taylor, would you please introduce yourself for us?
Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, Mr. Whiskey, for your time and opportunity. Um, my name's Jim. I'm from Jersey. Live in Alabama right now, serving the Marine Corps. I've had like 60 somewhat jobs over the course of my life, non-acting jobs, that is. Traveled around a lot. But the acting gig, that's kind of what really, I guess, is the pointy part of my life, because that's where this knowledge comes from. I traced this all the way back to when I was 4 years old. When I was 4 years old, my parents took me to a midnight mass, and simply put, it freaked me out when we started talking about eternity. The concept of eternity hit me, and it was simply that I realized that if there's no middle, if there's no end, there's no middle. If there's no middle, it's perpetual beginning. So what do I do with that kind of time? Eventually, I'm going to do everything multiple times over. And how do I not go insane with boredom? So boredom freaked me out. Um, what I did, I regressed into my head, and instinctively I started using my brain as a computer. I started creating programs for myself. And two of my earliest programs were I refer to as my suits and bubbles. My suits were essentially different versions of myself. Anytime I met someone, I would actively listen. I would copy them, who they were mentally and emotionally, and make a version of them as myself so I could see their eyes. My bubbles were essentially like the holodeck in the Star Trek universe. They could anytime, any place, under any circumstances. So I would take these suits, put them in bubbles, and work out different scenarios. So if I had to make a choice, I would just run through my suits and bubbles to make the best choice I could, to see all the available choices. Flash forward to when I started into acting. 2003 is when I got in, but 2008 I was doing this film called Hunger, and I wasn't even on camera. This actor Lyndon Ashby was on camera, and so I wasn't in character. And I remember after the director yelled cut, Lyndon reached over and shook my hand like I pulled his kid out of a fire, and I couldn't understand it. And it took me like maybe a month or so afterwards before I realized that even though I wasn't on camera, I was still present. I was there with him in the moment. So when I said my lines, it was still enough to get back. Because the problem is when you have those situations, a lot of actors who are off camera will just blah, blah, blah their lines, and they're not giving to their scene partner. So their scene partner on camera can do their best work.
Hmm.
Even though I wasn't a character, I was giving because I was using these tools and techniques inherent. It was when I realized that was like I call it my Highlander moment, my quickening moment, where everything about acting and life made sense because my suits were essentially characters. My bubbles are a form of Stanislavski's magic gift. I've been using a variation of these acting techniques my whole life to give me an edge over my counterparts. I've used it to give me a myriad of soft skills, speed up my thinking. It's just there's so many different tools that are allowed. Emotional regulation, my empathy is off the charts. So it's all of these things that I've built over my life that once I hit acting, I realized, whoa, this is all teachable. So once I got to that point, I realized that basically it's just giving a new form of literacy to mankind and something that we need because even in the world now, it's like think about relationships with women and men. Women always complain that men lack empathy and listening. These are two skills that are taught. Think about adolescence. Generation after generation for millennia, we've been sending teens through adolescence where they're getting hit with these emotions, and we've done nothing to help them. Why don't we teach them how to grow and develop their emotions when they're toddlers and in elementary school? So when they hit adolescence, it's not going to be that big of a hit because adolescence wasn't a big problem for me emotionally because I developed my emotions so much prior to that. So I'm saying the applications to this are off the chart because you have to appreciate this with as actors, the marble that we use to create our art is the human mind and emotions. That's what we chisel to make ourselves. We use real emotions in imaginary circumstances. We build a real working mindset. for use on the stage, but the human brain doesn't know the difference between the imaginative and real life because these are just tools. So it just works. We only have one brain. So what I'm saying is, if we take these tools and techniques, give them to people throughout the world, we'll change the world because now it's just like with math and reading. It allowed the common person to get in the game. If you can read and you can do math, you can do science and you can learn. Well, if you have emotional literacy, you can emotionally regulate. So we're giving people more tools to get in there and grow and develop themselves. And once they do, who knows what they'll discover?
Right. So let's get into what is your definition of emotional literacy? What does that look like for people who aren't understanding what you mean by that?
Sure. It's simple. It's basically, like I said, to me, emotional literacy is being able to feel your emotions at any point in time. They're your emotions. You should be able to feel whichever emotion whenever you want to feel it. When an actor, well, it varies for actors because you have, like any job, you have people who are good at their job, people who are mediocre at their job, people who are great at their job. I'm talking about the high end quality actors, the ones on the top shelf. When they get on stage and they feel their emotions, they're feeling real emotion. They're summoning that energy. Because you have to appreciate too, emotions, they're just energy. They're flavored energy. Like when an actor has a script, the script is a coloring book. Our soul, our emotions for the actor, that's the box of crayons. That's what we color in. So
Right.
things like intensity, when people say, oh, you're so intense, oh, you're so passionate, that's emotion. That's you using your emotions to do work for you. Some people do it inherently. What I'm saying is we can teach people all people how to do that. So things like to be able to feel what you want to feel, like if you're in a job interview and you're feeling nervous, you can cut that nerves off. And granted, there's clinical levels of certain things too, like depression. You can turn certain levels of depression on. If it's clinical depression, that's a whole nother thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the common everyday
Yeah.
feeling of you can take charge of that. You can control that. If you're feeling down in the dumps, you can reverse that feeling and turn it into a feeling of joy or happiness if you're in control. And that's what I'm saying about emotional literacy. If you take the time to do these work, these tools and techniques, you'll be able to understand how you feel in a way to exercise however you want to feel those emotions whenever you want to feel them. It's very much like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you're working out certain muscles to do certain things. Same thing with emotions. You got to work, you have to feel them. That's how you work them out. As you go through these process and feel all these each individual emotions, you strengthen and grow them. And then you can blend them into each other. Like I said, it's remarkable what we learn to do as actors.
Right. And I think about the example I went to in my head was when actors and actresses have to cry and they have to be truly sad, like their family just died or something just happened, even if it's never happened to them. And you can tell the difference between an actor and actress who's good at that and who's bad at that. There you can see realism in, movies and shows or lack thereof. So you talk about emotional regulation and, working through our emotions. And I want to pivot to talk about the adolescents and helping them through that, especially the sooner the better. So how do we teach them this emotional regulation? How do we have them work through their emotions?
Well, there's different exercises and tools. One simple one that I always like to start off with, it's called the Stanislavski System. This came about 100 years ago. Because really quick, uh, Western acting is about a 2,500 year timeline. The first 2,100 years, it was all representation, pretend, masking. That's what people think acting is. Over the next 300 years, it kind of changed in the Victorian area and a couple of different changes in there. It moved into realism. But around 1900, this gentleman named Konstantin Stanislavski, a Russian actor, he made it philosophical. I mean, he's known as the father, or the grandfather of acting right now. All the schools are pretty much derived from him. But his system is basic. It's 7 questions. These 7 questions are designed to break down a moment, to show you how many choices you have in that moment. Because we don't teach that to people outright. Like the moment you're walking into is generally the first time, and we have no idea what's going on.
Right.
These 7 questions are a base set to break it down. All right. Number one, who am I? This is the moment in relation to you. Who are you in the moment? What's the role you play? Am I a dad? Am I a brother? Am I a student? What is my role in the moment? Be self aware. It's a common question. Number two, where am I? This is the moment in the relation to the environment you're in, to be aware of the environment. What's going on? What's going? What's coming? What are the patterns? When is it? This is the moment in relation to time. You got to be aware of these things because, like, am I about to get in the road right before rush hour? Am I about to talk to my boss before he's had something to eat? So time is a factor. Number four, what do I want? This is the moment in relation to purpose. What are you doing? Why are you here? Actually, why is the next question? Number five is why do I want it? And this is the moment in relation to desire. And it's important to know the what and the why because if you don't, you can get them crossed. Like somebody else could intervene in your life and have you doing their why. Number six, how do I get it? This is the moment in relation to action. So this is the plan you're actually putting forth to do the thing. So you're not just thinking about it, you're making action. And number seven is what's in my way. This is the moment in relation to obstacles. So, like, if I'm going for a job interview, how many other applicants are there? What do they know that I don't? What can they bring to the table that I don't have? So, being aware of that. So these are basically seven questions that are designed to break down the moment. And you can ask more questions, you can add on, you can build from there. This is just the base set. Now, what this does is kind of think of it like this it's kind of like sonar. You got a submarine under the ocean, right? It can't see anything. So it sends out a ping. The ping tells it, like, there's other subs out there, ships on the surface, they're dropping depth charge, there's a whale over to your left. This is the same thing. This is about building situational awareness. So when you walk into a room, ping, all these questions go out and they bring back all this information. And in doing so, this is where you would also apply your emotions. So you're creating the situation. Now, how do you feel it? Summon your emotions. And it's at first it's going to be a little messy because most people are working at level one. So you got to play with like your emotions like they're clay. Just feel them a little bit. But as you grow into it, you'll feel that there's more tension to it. You'll feel more strength, and then you'll feel the energy just kind of flowing through you. And that's kind of what actors do. Like when you're talking about tears, like one point, because it's not always just sad tears. It could be tears of joy, tears of confusion.
Yeah.
In Denzel, I don't know if you saw that film Glory. Denzel has a great scene in it where he just drops one tear. He's getting whipped, and he just drops one tear down, and it's like the control of your body to just have
Wow.
one tear, drop it down, and then just for the camera. I mean, generally, it's not something that, like something like that. I imagine he can't just do on the spot. You have to build up to it, but still,
Yeah, yeah.
it's about having that control over your body. Because again, these are our bodies, these are our minds, these are our emotions. How much control do you really have over? Like if you had kids, how would you tell them to control their emotions? What tools would you give them? We don't have that as a society. So if we give them to them, we have the potential to raise a whole new generation of more mentally and emotionally capable people than we've ever seen before because they now have a path to walk on instead of wandering in the woods all just willy-nilly.
So those seven questions that you went through there, I mean, so when do you recommend people use that list of seven questions? Is it every time something major happens? Is it every day? Like, how do you use it in your life and how should we implement it?
It's a lifestyle. Every moment. These are questions you ask every moment. It's like you send a ping out. If you have any question in your mind about the situation you're in, ping, ping. It's just like I said, it's just like a submarine. If you feel confident in the situation you're in, you're good. If you
Mm,
don't, if
okay.
something changes, the circumstances changes, shoot out a ping real quick. Ask, and again, as you live because your life, all of our lives are different. And Stanislavski even said it. He's like, don't stick slavishly to my system. Create your own because all of our lives are a little different. So your questions may need to be more fine tuned than someone else's. So that's what you'll want to do. But again, this is all about gaining understanding of the moment you're in. So knowing what you're doing, because if you have your bearings, you're more grounded. If you're more grounded, you can make better choices. The problem most people have is when they go into the moment, they don't pre-rehearse it at all. That's what I said. That's the thing with Magic If and my bubbles. It allows me an environment, and it allows the Magic If allows the actor an environment to rehearse beforehand. So whenever you need to go in a situation that's important to you, why go in it the first time? Real life. Why not rehearse all the different things that can be said, what questions a person can ask, what directions, what different paths the conversation can go, or wherever you need to do. If you prep all that beforehand, now when you're actually in the situation, you're in a better position than the person you're talking to. If it's like an interview or a meeting or something like that, and you can steer it in the direction you want because you've answered the question.
So you talk about living a very amorphous life, having your collection of suits and bubbles. How do you balance that with authenticity. I mean, who is, the real you, or do you feel like the real you is just a constantly evolving and changing person?
I feel real me is all of them. I'm an amalgamation of all of because essentially what I've done is I've allowed my because it's not they're not pretend, they're not facades. These are it's like the you ever see heard the theory of multiple personnel or multiple universes where you have different
Yeah,
versions of you these universes. All I've essentially done is take all those different versions of me from other universes and bring them into this universe through my mind and emotions. So they're all me. They're different versions. And it's allowing me to explore and experience the world in a way that I haven't met anyone else who has. Because even actors who do this, they do it for the imaginative, they only do it for the characters. I do it with everyone I meet. Like every time I sit down and talk to someone and have a conversation or just, make new friends, I'm trying to figure out what version of me would look like for me as a version of them. And it ties into, I'm not sure if you're familiar with psychodrama. Dr. Joseph Levy Moreno in the 1950s, he created psychodrama. And he has this amazing poem. I don't know the poem intact, but one part of it, and it's very visceral. He's like, I'm going to tear my eyes out. I'm going to tear my eyes out and put them in place of yours. And I'm going to tear yours eyes out and
right.
put them in mine. And he's making that thing and he makes it visceral because it's important. It is that serious. It's not
Yeah,
something that's pedantic. When you take a moment, like in psychodrama, when you're trying to look through someone's eyes, you're trying to reach a level of empathy because that's what empathy is. It's understanding, it's seeing someone else's through their eyes to understand what you would look like in their place. And that's what I feel like acting has evolved to ultimate empathy because it literally allows us to become any other human being mentally or emotionally. Now, think about the implications of that. Like someone who's shy or doesn't know how to get out, well, maybe that's because no one ever taught them the tools and techniques to be more robust. If you teach them improv techniques, you can teach them how to be the life of the party, literally. They can get out there and know how to crack jokes because they're understanding how the environment works. And it's going to show that this is more than that because this is working with kids with autism. Sense Theater, I think in Memphis, maybe it's in Tennessee, I'm pretty sure. But they're working with kids with autism. And what they're essentially doing is like where acting, you have a script. The script tells you what to do. Those are your givens. When you're doing improv, you don't have a script. You're making your
right.
lines up as you go. So you have to understand how the play works because I don't know if you're familiar with long form improv,
Yeah,
but long improv, yeah, it's a 2 hour play where you make a beginning, middle, and end just like that. The only
yeah,
way you can is by understanding the mechanics of improvisation, how the plays work. Well, what Sense Theater has done is they're using those tools and techniques to teach autistic kids how to understand how society runs in a sense. So they don't have to pick up on social cues. They can understand, they understand beforehand. They're looking behind the curtain so they understand how things work. They're explaining it to them. So it's like it's showing how these techniques transcend just imagination and play. They reach out and touch people's lives and help them. Trauma drama is another one. It's I believe in Massachusetts, what they do is they're taking teens who've been dealt with real trauma. They're using these tools and techniques to allow them to work through different traumas unrelated to their own, so they can build up tools and techniques to deal with trauma that they can later take back to their own. So it's like reverse engineering healing for
yeah. And I also want to get into, we're talking about ways to implement this into our life. Your book, All Your Best Selves. Can you tell us what role that plays in all of this? Is it kind of like your way of getting this message besides podcasting and another way of getting that message out to people? And is it kind of like a guidebook for, not only people to implement this into their lives, but to help teach other people how to do it?
yes, it's there's three different parts to my book. I'm still learning too because like I'm not an author. I guess I am an author, but it was never something I was intended to be. It
Right.
was the idea I had, and I was trying to get it out. When I came to the book, the three different parts. The first part is talking about my. It's kind of autobiographical. It's short, but it talks about my life in relation to the idea. The second part of the book talks about the idea using acting techniques in life. The third part is what I refer to as the toolbox. I only break into three techniques, but it's a lot. It's the bulk of the book. It's the biggest part. It's the Stanislavski System, the Meisner technique, which teaches how to read behavior, listening skills, and Uta Hagen's exercises, which again breaks down the moment. But these are three of many masters out there. And in the intangible toolbox, I put these in here so it allows people to see how these techniques work for actors in the acting arena side by side with how they can work in the real world with exercises. So people can take this book, use the intangible toolbox, and implement these exercises in real time as soon as they get it and start building themselves. Because, like I said, this is about growing yourself mentally and emotionally. And that's what these tools do. They will build soft skills in you that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, for sure. And how does this all relate back to your military service? I mean, did you feel like you were kind of playing the role of a Marine the whole time, or how did that go hand in
Well,
hand with this and your transition into acting post-service?
well, the thing is, acting came after service, but I think acting is the wrong way to look at it too. Acting is it's passe. It's a dated term. We're
Mm,
not act. We're being. This is about how to be human. And that's what actors do now. We become different humans. We're not acting, we're not pretending. That mindset is kind of it's giving the
mm,
wrong. So when I was a Marine, I never thought I was acting like a Marine. I knew I was a Marine. I was a Marine. And that's the same sense I take to every role. When I get on stage, that's who I am. Um, I don't think like I'm portraying this person. I mean, I understand there's because they always say there's this whole thing back in your head, where reality
right.
is. Once you get on the stage, I'm not portraying it. I'm living. It's all about living that life. And these tools and techniques teach you how to live in the moment. And more than that, it's like if you ever think about a Broadway actor who does 8 shows a week, maybe 3 months solid, that's hundreds of shows. But
That's a
every
lot.
time show, it's not just that, but every time they do a show, they have to create the illusion of the first time, the illusion that this
Hmm.
is the time this is happening because it is for the audience members. So that's another skill that people don't think because like if you're a party host, if you're bringing people into a convention, like a chaperone, bring people every time you greet them, you got to greet them like, "Hey, man, how you doing? God, it's great to see you." And you're putting on, but it's not fake. If it's fake, they'll see it. They'll look because people are
Yeah.
not stupid. They can understand when somebody's just trying to glad hand it versus someone's genuinely using this emotion. And that's what I'm saying. Don't act. Find that place inside of you that's genuinely receiving and start pouring it into that person. And when they do, they will feel that and they'll be like, this person genuinely feels a connection. So that's what I'm saying. Use these skills instead. It's like a smartphone. Everybody has a smartphone, but most people only use 10% of them. Same thing with this supercomputer up here. Most people only use
Yeah.
10% of it. You can access a lot more. It's just you need the tools and techniques to interface.
I think that goes into one of the thoughts I had, which is I know plenty of people who would say, Mr. Whiskey, I can't act. I could never, use any of these skills because it's not me. But you're kind of saying that like, anyone can learn this. We can learn to be someone else, regardless of skill level of experience or emotional control, So I think that's important because there's a lot of people I know who see someone on Broadway or in a movie or a show or a play or even improv and say, I could never do that. So what would you say to those people who really feel like they could never do something like this?
Well, a couple different things. Number one, everybody's got to start from somewhere. If you're looking at DiCaprio and saying I could never act, you're looking at a master. Don't look at
Right.
the master
Yeah.
guy on the ground level. It's kind of like I'm a huge fan of South Park, the show, and the creators of South Park do not like the first 3 seasons. I love the first 3 seasons because the first 3 seasons remind me that they're not gods, that they were men once, and that those first 3 seasons were crap. That allows me some way to get to them. So that's what
Mm.
you have to look at first. Secondly, you have to appreciate that everybody's already doing this. We all act in some formats. The way I'm sitting when I talk to my grandmother is not the same way I'm going to behave and act when I'm at the bar with my buddies. We
Yeah.
refer
Yeah.
to it, it's life. We refer to it in the world as code switching. I'm going to code switch. I'm going to act a different version of myself with this different peer group, with different family, in church, whatever. So we're already doing it. What I'm saying is doing it with intent. That's what you're doing, the tools and
Mm.
techniques. Difference between, you know, yeah, I can't rebuild an engine. We don't need to rebuild an engine. You can change an oil, right? You can put gas in the car, start at the low levels, work from there, and build your way up. Because everything in life is a learned skill. I'm a firm believer. That's all acting is. It's a learned skill. But this is a learned skill with high rewards. If you take the time, you can do it easily. The thing that scares people a lot is generally the concept of doing it in front of an audience. And that's the beautiful thing. You don't need an audience. This isn't about having an audience. So you don't have to get up in front of people and feel that stage fright or that nervousness. You can do these tools and techniques in the privacy of your own home, in the privacy of your own life, and they will work just as well as they would for an actor doing it in front of a 10,000 person crowd. So that audience part is irrelevant. But also, even with that, what we refer to as the work, these tools and techniques, this is what prevents stage fright. Because what stage fright is really not knowing. You don't have all the beats worked out. If you work out all the beats in the moment, do all the things you need to do to figure out where you need to go, move across the stage you're on, because we're all on stages, we're all playing on roles. We may not be on Shakespeare's stage or a New York stage, but when you're in a boardroom, you're on a stage, everybody's playing a role in there. If you understand these tools and techniques, you can play a more active part in that. So you're participating instead of being a bystander. So that's what I'm saying with these tools and techniques. They let you be an active player, and they're not hard to get to. So people start at level one, build yourself up slowly, but there's nothing hard about it. There's no barrier. There's literally no barrier stopping you other than your own nervousness.
Yeah, and I believe it was Shakespeare, if not some other famous person who said all the world's a stage and we're merely all, actors playing in it. So yeah, I agree. And like you said, it's something we all already do, whether it's subconscious or conscious, and just doing that with more intent. And so as we wrap up here, I do want to, plug your website and go a little bit over it. I mean, who should check it out? I know you've got your book on there as well as some other information.
Yeah, this is what the cover looks like. It's called All Your Best Selves. It's on Amazon right now, and if you can check out my website, it's www.tbcenterprises.com. That's TBC is in Tango Bravo Charlie. Uh, Basically, that's where I got all my stuff going on right now. And like I said, I'm still, it's all brand new to me because I mean I had the website for a while, but it wasn't really doing much. But once I got the book out, and then it kind of stalled a little bit. But like I said, once I started doing the pod match thing, the interviews started blowing. It just kind of vitalized everything. So I'm pushing ahead and trying to see where I go. Like the social media, I just started up like less than a year ago, so I'm gonna see where that goes as well. My social media handle is Soy Candy. I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and YouTube. And trying to think of anything else. Yeah, if you happen to buy the book on Amazon and read it, it mean a lot to me if you reviewed it. That anyone who's listening, it help out because I know reviews are very important. And I'm still learning the ropes. But yeah, thank you for your time, and uh, I feel good about it.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check that out, especially whether it's for yourself or someone else, to just look a little bit further into the idea of being in, whatever circumstance it may be. And I think it's so important for relationships, especially like you said, seeing with someone else's eyes, or as we say down here, walking a country mile in someone else's shoes, and you talked about men needing to be more empathetic and listening and all of this and that. And I agree because when you can when you can act, it allows you to maybe be someone who's a little more patient than you naturally are, be a little more listening and engaged than you are, and having that emotional regulation. And then again, those 7 steps, as you mentioned, whether you want to make it 8 or 10, or maybe you need less. But like you said, having that sonar, that navigation system to constantly be aligned with yourself and take in everything. So I appreciate what you do getting on podcasts, because ultimately I agree that our youth, especially nowadays more than ever, need our help. They need our mentorship and our guidance and our parenting to help them deal with this world. It's a chaotic world and they need to be ready for it. So I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on and offering me your time.
Sailing through the ocean blue, nuclear reactors, my crew, guiding the ship, the stars as our guide, through the waves we ride. Jokes and laughter fill the air. On this voyage we have to share, working together, side by side, as one family we will abide. In the heart of a ship, we reside. Nuclear operators with pride, powering the vessel with every stride. Our mission, the source of great pride.